The Harrison family had been looking for their dream home for years. They had been searching high and low for the perfect place to settle down and start their new life together. They wanted a home that was modern, comfortable, and had all the latest technology to make their lives easier. Finally, their dream came true when they found a beautiful smart home in a quiet neighborhood on the outskirts of town. The house was everything they had ever wanted and more. It had an open floor plan, a spacious kitchen with all the latest appliances, a large living room with a state-of-the-art entertainment system, and even a home theater. The smart home was designed to be fully automated, with sensors and smart devices that could control the lighting, temperature, and security. The Harrisons were thrilled to move in and start their new life in their dream home. They couldn't wait to try out all the new features and explore all the possibilities that came with living in a smart home. At first, everything seemed perfect. The smart home was everything they had ever wanted and more. The Harrisons were amazed at how easy it was to control everything with their smartphones and tablets. They could turn on the lights, adjust the temperature, and even monitor their security system with just a few taps. But soon, strange things began to happen. Lights would turn on and off by themselves. Doors would open and close without anyone touching them, and the temperature would fluctuate wildly for no apparent reason. At first, the Harrisons dismissed these occurrences as glitches in the smart home system. They assumed that it was just a matter of time before they figured out how to fix the problems and get everything running smoothly. However, things only got worse from there. One night, the family was awakened by the sound of the home theater system turning on by itself. They assumed that it was just another glitch, but when they went to turn it off, they saw that it was playing a movie that they had never seen before. It was a horror movie, and the images on the screen were terrifying. The Harrisons were unnerved, but they assumed that someone must have hacked into their system and played the movie as a prank. They immediately changed all their passwords and tightened their security settings, thinking that would be the end of it. But it was only the beginning. As time went on, the smart home seemed to take on a life of its own. It became more and more unpredictable, and the Harrisons began to realize that something was seriously wrong. They started to feel like they were being watched, and strange noises could be heard coming from the walls at night. One day, the family was sitting in the living room when the smart home system suddenly started playing music at full volume. It was a haunting melody that seemed to be coming from all around them. The Harrisons tried to turn off the music, but the system wouldn't respond. They tried to unplug it, but it continued to play. It was as if the smart home had a mind of its own and was determined to torment them. The Harrisons tried to contact the company that had installed the smart home system, but they were unable to reach anyone. They were completely alone, trapped in their own home with a malevolent force that seemed to be getting stronger with each passing day. The Harrisons tried everything they could think of to rid their home of the evil presence that seemed to be possessing it. They contacted a team of paranormal investigators who came to the house and conducted a series of tests and experiments. They discovered that the smart home system had somehow become infused with a dark energy that was beyond their understanding. The investigators advised the Harrisons to leave the house immediately and seek the help of a professional exorcist. But the family was reluctant to abandon their dream home, and they couldn't bear the thought of losing everything they had worked so hard for. As the days went by, the situation in the smart home grew more and more dire. The Harrisons began to experience terrifying nightmares and hallucinations. They would wake up in the middle of the night to find their smart devices moving on their own. and sometimes even speaking to them in a deep, demonic voice. One day, the smart home system locked the Harrisons out of their own home. They were unable to enter or access any of the controls, and they were forced to spend the night outside in the cold. It was then that the Harrisons realized they had to take drastic measures to save themselves and their home. They contacted an exorcist and begged him to come to their aid. The exorcist arrived at the smart home and began his work immediately. He performed a series of rituals and incantations, trying to drive out the evil presence that had taken over the house. The Harrisons watched in horror as the exorcist battled against the malevolent force that seemed to be growing stronger by the minute. The smart home system continued to act on its own, and the exorcist was forced to dodge flying objects and avoid traps set by the possessed devices. But the exorcist was determined to succeed, and he fought bravely against the dark energy that had taken over the smart home. Finally, after hours of intense struggle, the exorcist succeeded in banishing the evil presence from the house. The Harrisons were left shaken and traumatized by their experience in the smart home. They were grateful to the exorcist for saving their lives, but they knew that they could never return to the house that had nearly destroyed them. The family moved out of the smart home and into a more traditional, low-tech house. They decided that they had had enough of smart homes and technology, and they wanted to live a simpler, more peaceful life. But the memory of their experience in the smart home stayed with them forever. They knew that they had come close to losing everything, and they vowed never to take anything for granted again. The smart home that had once been their dream home was now nothing more than a haunted house, a reminder of the dangers of technology and the unknown forces that can lurk within it. The Harrisons moved on with their lives, but they never forgot the lessons they had learned in the smart home. They knew that they had been lucky to escape with their lives, and they vowed never to forget the horror they had experienced in that possessed smart home. After the exorcism, the smart home was left empty and abandoned. But over time, rumors began to spread about the strange occurrences that had taken place in the house. People claimed to have seen the devices moving on their own, and some even reported hearing strange voices and seeing apparitions. The smart home became known as a haunted house, and people began to avoid it at all costs. It sat vacant and decaying, a monument to the dangers of technology and the unknown forces that can lurk within it. Eventually, the smart home was torn down and replaced with a park. The memory of the possessed smart home lived on, but it became nothing more than a cautionary tale, a warning to others to be careful when embracing new technologies and to always be aware of the potential dangers that lie within. The Harrison family, on the other hand, moved on with their lives, but they never forgot the lessons they learned in the smart home. They became advocates for responsible use of technology and made it their mission to educate others about the potential dangers of smart homes and the need for caution and awareness when embracing new technologies. In the end, the Harrisons realized that their experience in the smart home had been a wake-up call, a reminder to always be mindful of the unknown and to never take anything for granted. They learned to appreciate the simple things in life and to value their relationships with one another above all else. And while they never forgot the horror they had experienced in that possessed smart home, they knew that they had come out the other side stronger and wiser than ever before.